You realize deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your purpose. Let's go. Thoughts can keep you down, pushing deep until you drown, or they can keep you up strong, focused on the now. Glass half full, or has it been emptied out? Well, that's all up to you and your mind. Do you doubt anything, everything, not a thing? Make my thoughts work for me, manifest what I need, what I want, what I see. I could be anything, I attract all the things that I see. I believe I'll achieve as I breathe in and out again and again. I don't doubt, I sit and I plan, and I found out that I can execute if I'm driven, if I listen, if I learn all the wisdom. Read some books, something written, watch the best. Teach a system, I invest, never hidden, I ain't scared. Ain't no chicken, I take dares. I'll be winning, you get back what you're giving. Find the reason that you're living, what you're good at, all your gifts and what you love. Take a risk and find out what you've been missing. Yeah. You realize deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your purpose. You realize deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your
All right, welcome to the Party Pals GRC Mafia. Let me double check. Oh, hey, look at that. I have the correct microphone selected today. Right out of the gate here, we are here to break down barriers, foster collaboration and community, working towards a more secure future for everybody. Definitely a learning and growing environment. Drop your questions, drop your resources, and so forth. Every single Friday, we just hop on here to further discuss GRC even further, ask questions, share resources, and then also like check in with the community and see what everybody else is up to. Welcome to the Party Pal. I see AMK hopping in and also grabbing his supporter 2 membership there. And then also we got B-Dubs and 8-Bit Oni popping in. 8-Bit's the guy with his own CSP at home for his own cloud service. Bam. But yeah, if you guys would like to come up on stage, I did drop the stage link. This is going to be our open stage, open discussions. We do it every Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And then, or you guys can stick in chat. One of the best places to drop your social media, connect with the rest of the community, is going to be inside of our Discord server, especially outside of the live streams themselves. So hop in there. We have the live chat channel where you can go through and post links if you guys have resources that you guys want to share. Otherwise, just don't share anything that you don't want to be public. It's live. It's on the internet. If you happen to do so, reach out to me on Discord, LinkedIn, or contact at studygrc.org. Welcome to the Party Pal Cam. So here in just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and transition over here. I don't really have any other updates. I did drop a bunch of different stuff last night. Like with the badges, we're now doing like Black Hills Information Security does, where they have week 1, week 2, week 3, and so forth. So we did implement that. Our job readiness group resume review session is next Thursday. So the last Thursday of every month. If you guys want to submit your redacted resumes for review, the best place to do that is through our website, where you can go through at the contact form at the very bottom. You could submit your redacted resume with no personal information, and then we could review that next week. Welcome to the Party Pal. Space Tacos is hopping in too. We're going to have to get a ad roll for you, Space Tacos, for your Discord server there. That's also going in chat there as well. And also another awesome person is PBO, who's probably going to hop in here sometime after his he gets up from his nap or something. But yeah, let me go ahead and transition over here.
Do you love cybersecurity and GRC? Do you like analogies stretched further than my hairline? Then do I have a channel for you. Hi, my name is Cameron, also known as Cam, and I want to invite you to check out and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Cam Goddess, where I dive into various topics, frameworks, terms, and foundational knowledge within the broad categories of cybersecurity and GRC. I'm passionate about these things and about taking complex concepts and making them more easily understandable, more easily defined. Everyone is a nerd about something, so come, nerd, learn, and grow with me.
Bam. So if you guys did not know, go check out Cam's channel. He's dropping a bunch of stuff. He did a bunch of discussions about AI hallucination, but also a lot of content about the 853 itself, some of the family groups and so forth. And I know you didn't do anything in particular, Space Tacos, but you have the GRC audit treasure trove. And what we're doing is instead of having, paid sponsorship and so forth, we would prefer to just, throw in ad rolls for other communities out there within the space and so forth that align with our mission and so forth. So yeah, I mean, there's other people. There's Cybersecurity Dojo. There's Cam, B-Dubs. There's multiple different individuals out there. And then Space Tacos has that GRC audit treasure trove that I dropped in chat as well. And so that's what I was saying, Space Tacos, is you got to do a ad roll for your GRC audit treasure trove so we can start airing that. Welcome to the party, pal, AB. GRC Mafia. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, even if you're only hopping in for a few minutes. I see you did an intro video for the YouTube channel. I had to. Yeah, so I mentioned that... Wait, you shouldn't even be able to see the intro video for the YouTube channel unless you're unsubscribed, Space Tacos. Are you unsubscribed, Space Tacos? Wow. Yeah, so there's a intro video for the paid membership portion. If you guys go to add to join that, then there's an intro video for that. And then there's also one for the YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, it shows that. Yeah, right. And then PBO over here's got to, make another one just like Cam too.
That's too much pressure.
Come on.
That's too much pressure.
Literally, what you should do is, like, next time you go for a walk, you should just record yourself and just be like, yeah, I talk about 853. Come join me Tuesdays at 9.
Facts. Whew. So how are you doing today? Happy Friday.
Oh, I see, Space Tacos. Okay, I'll let that pass then. Fine. At your work computer, you are unsubscribed. I'll accept that, okay? But yeah, if you're unsubscribed to the channel, then you do see the intro video that talks about what Study GRC's mission is. I'm probably going to update that here in the near future because that was before I got the lights and so forth. Like 38% of the viewers are not subscribed. If you guys want to see more content like this. Yeah, it's like 40% of the viewers are not subscribed, even though we have a really high amount of people who return. I think it's because of PBO.
That's funny.
We got to get people are like, oh wait, it's that PBO guy. We don't want association with that.
Facts.
But yeah, what's everybody doing this week? You guys made it to Friday. Bam. PBO survived his walk.
I did. I got one in this morning. So I'm trying to make it.
Making me look like a slacker.
So I'm just trying to be consistent. I'm tired though. But yeah.
Are you ready for the zero trust portion? So I gave you a little tidbit yesterday on the fact that when a lot of different vendors talk about zero trust, like, oh, you just add our platform and you get zero trust kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel like it has a really bad stigma for zero trust.
The only reason I pause is that's when it's picking up steam when all the vendors give you their vaporware and their market share, right? We got the one click button. To me, I get what you're saying, a negative, but that means it's hot because they're trying to get the money from it, right? That's the new Bitcoin, right? We got something for you. It's gonna make you wealthy and easy to do. Hit a button, so
yeah.
But like from our discussion yesterday, it's for me it's the same thing with security. You gotta do your research, man. You gotta do your research. But I get what you're saying from that.
Yeah, and Space Tacos is just trying not to catch on fire.
Oh God, it was burning up this morning.
I think today's high is like 86 or something, which is just pretty high out here.
And that was 94 yesterday. I was struggling.
I mean, the key thing is just stay indoors. That's what I do.
If I was skinny, I might, but I need to get out there and get some steps in and get a little heat on you.
Poor PBO.
Get a little heat on you.
Yeah, and welcome to the party, pal, Brexy, too. Yeah, so like regarding zero trust and so forth, like you had started to lead to it last night on the fact that like, okay, a company wants to, do better with their program. They want to actually take the right steps, because I kind of feel like zero trust isn't something that a company's just going to be like, oh, we're doing what we have to do. I kind of feel like zero trust is an extra step beyond requirement.
Well, it's yes and no. I think the Biden administration and executive order said if you're in the government, you have to do it. So I think they're going to start putting requirements around that to make.
Why don't they do that on a national level for private entity?
I think they just don't want to overstep. And two is it really depends on your classification of your data. They saying if you're doing this type of data in the Fed, you got to do X, right? If you're an ice cream shop, I mean, I don't think you'd be doing zero trust. So I think, and they always trying to, they don't want to put requirements on a private industry. They shout out to B-Dubs. PCI from the credit card said this to do business with us, this is what you need to do. Right. So kind of like the private sector handle the private sector.
Well, the way that I look at it is that there's already pretty heavily regulated industries in the first place. And so so it's kind of like those 3 laws. I did that stream last week about what was it, like Colorado, Wisconsin, and another state that I'm forgetting. At least I remembered Wisconsin, Cam. Where so they're enforcing best practices for healthcare organizations. But like, it kind of irritates me because these states are doing it just for the healthcare sectors, but not, what about finance? What about, schools? What about, data brokers? Like, they're not adding these on for other industries. I mean, it's a whole political landscape, and I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that is collected with that. It's still a step in the right direction, but yeah.
I just think it's a baby step. Because too, is when we were at the state of Indiana, we was talking about putting those requirements in, but are we going to go out and validate it? Are we going to go out and put the findings? If we give in safe harbor, how do we validate that it's good? So we were like, we don't have that type of manpower to say that, right? So that was kind of one of our issues. Okay, if we say we're going to give you safe harbor, who's going to certify that? Right? Or are we going to look, even if we just look over basic documentation, like, so who's going to validate them? So yeah, because we're at the state of Indiana, we were talking about doing some of those requirements. So we were like, okay, who going to validate it?
Yeah.
Even if it's small, I mean, because we didn't have that type of they were kind of public-private partnership. So
well, and it's just like with those state laws, like only one of those, I think it was Wisconsin, was actually making an agency just to enforce that. But yeah, I mean, you need the manpower with it as well.
So that's kind of what we were flinching, where PCI was like, okay, we and I don't think PCI comes out and validates it a lot of times, but if you get hacked, they're going to validate you and your fine's going to be big. So they try to force you with the fine on the back end.
So going back to like zero trust, do you feel like zero trust is like a enterprise thing, or is that still a small business capability? Because I think yesterday you were talking about how, every year you just, throw this money at that, and just get there little by little kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's an enterprise thing. The reason it makes me say that is you got to spend money for it. Right.
Yeah.
Even if you do it on the cheap, because you got to do check the healthcare of your Windows, which defenders will do. Check the version. Check your session. Right. I mean, kind of like MFA. At a certain level, MFA costs. I mean, if you Cisco and you got under 5 people, you good. But anything over that, you got to start paying money for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Space Taco said 95 to 97 today, but it's supposed to feel like 107. Yeah, no, I survived that stuff in Phoenix. I'm not. No,
Oh, yeah,
I'm up
Phoenix,
in the north for a reason now.
Yeah, Phoenix is a different animal. So that's kind of the issue, I think, with zero trust, and I think that's why the government started off with these big agencies. We're gonna give you funding to do it. And once again, if you're doing work with the federal agencies, then we can tell you what you need to do to get our business right. So
yeah, and so like 8-Bit's coming in on saying that zero trust is more or less best practices rather than a technology, even though technology plays a role. So are you talking about like treating zero trust as like least privilege kind of mindset? Is that?
I think that's what he's saying, and I think that's one of the pillars of it. But I disagree because most of that stuff's gonna cost you money. I mean, even if you start with micro segmentation, you can do it in the cloud with security groups, but you paying to be in the cloud, right? The security groups are free, but you're in the cloud to do that type of stuff. And a lot of times it's encryption, just in time, a lot of stuff in there costing money. Now, I think what 8-Bit's saying, I think I agree, is a lot of people spending that type of money now, and they're just not implementing it correctly to do zero trust.
Yeah. Yeah, AB, exactly. Plus 107 in Phoenix, negative 107 in North Dakota. Yeah.
Facts.
Exactly. I think the lowest I've seen out here with wind chill was like negative 70 with wind chill. We usually get 3 or 4 weeks where it's like negative 50. That's like crazy. Like in January. So I love it. A bunch of people will come here in the summertime and then run away, you know, by like September, October. They're like, nope.
No, not true.
The reverse snowbirds, I guess, is what you would call it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I agree. I feel like zero trust, even in the cloud, is not an easy feat. And my concept of zero trust is that like just going off and doing it for a single service is not really effective per se. Like zero trust is supposed to be like an entire system.
Yeah.
So, oh, here we go. PBO is going to pull up the diagrams.
Make us disappear real quick. Yeah. So yeah, this is Microsoft. So you got traditional. So they're doing it in stages, right? So if you look at the traditional, right, it's the flat network, some basic sign-on. Then you go to advanced. Now we're talking about hybrid identity. Devices are registered, which a lot of people are doing that now. Networks are being segmented in cloud threats. If you're on Sentinel or log analytics inside Azure, a lot of that stuff's built in. And at the top is optimal. That's when you're talking about real time and just in time security. Governance in cloud security with your policy engines. Trust has been removed from the network, and you're doing it from microsegmentation, encryption, and the cloud perimeters. And automatic threat detection is built in there. So I think me and 8-Bit, like I said, he agrees with me, and I agree with him. But once again, it doesn't have to be this big bang thing. That's one reason I like this Microsoft video. You got from traditional, advanced, and optimal, right? So, and 2 is you spend money, especially in the government. You got to do a budget, right? So it takes you a minute to get funding. So just kind of figure out what's your 2 from your business impact analysis. What's your most vulnerable systems with the highest classification, and you just start working on those and building on those, and just gotta once again work your way to it. Once again, traditional, advanced, and optimal.
Yeah, and that's your mindset of like little by little, and it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
Yeah, and 2 is you got to get the people with the correct talents. You got to train them up. They got to study it, because if you get something wrong, you opening yourself up before you get secured, right? So you got to get people trained. You got to get software. A lot of times you got to get consultant dollars in there. So
yeah, and just a heads up, Space Tacos, I totally accidentally banned you on the channel or in chat, and then I had to unblock you. And the buttons are really close to reply and block. Just
Block
so
her
you know.
again. She says she disagreed with me. I think you need to block her again, man. She disagreed
I'll
with me.
drop
We
a
need to-
screenshot in Discord live chat because like the buttons are really, really close to each other.
No, I gave him the nod. We had a block space taco. She was disagreeing with me. We had to
Oh,
block her.
gosh.
And be disagreeing with me. Blocked. Well, no, once
Yeah, I
again,
disagree with PBO, but I don't know why.
Facts. But no, I think once again, doing the segments, and Dr. Oji said, what you gonna get the biggest bang for the buck, right? You start with MFA. Inventory is real big. It's hard to secure what you don't understand. And once again, you got Intune, Defender, a lot of that stuff you can spin up easily with the Microsoft ecosystem. I usually do Cisco Duo because it's a little cheaper. If you're on the AWS side, you get MFA. Then once again, they do all the health checking for your device before you
Now,
sign.
on this new 1835 with the zero trust aspect, do they include a list like that, like a prioritized list of recommendations on where to start? Is that kind of what we were starting to get into last night?
I think what they assume you know what you need, and they tell you if you're using these technologies, this is what you need to use to put in zero trust. I don't think they weighted in any way. But I need to go back and look at it. I ain't gonna lie, I skimmed it.
What about the 53? So with the 53 baselines, does that implement zero trust, like in the baselines low, medium, high, low, moderate, high?
I'm thinking on it. Yeah, but it's hard to pick up. Meaning, a lot of that stuff, and I need to go back and look at. It's going to be a high because just-in-time inventory is really for high. Like you got nuke, so that wouldn't be in the medium. So if you were doing,
so I think me and 8-bit are kind of on the same track because like with an organization, they already have so many things that they're working on, and like of course like compliance and regulatory is going to be at a forefront. But then like when they're looking at like, oh, we want to work towards zero trust here, then where do we start? Like, okay, we already have MFA, but then like I haven't seen anything in the frameworks that I've looked at that outline anything like that on a prioritization list.
Well, you get them prioritized because if you bring up 853, they got the low, medium, and high. So that tells you from their perspective what you need.
But there's not a mapping for like zero trust architecture.
It's not. It is not.
There should be. There should be.
The only reason I phase is, I always say this is, man, we barely doing the basics, man.
I know.
So that's
but the 53 is not a small lift, like you said. Like
no, it's not. But it's so much in it. I think they're scared to put any more on you.
Which is also why 8-bit's saying it's more like best practices.
Yeah,
like,
and I agree with that.
Now, do you believe in a true zero trust environment? Do you think that's possible? Like for an entire company to be zero trust?
Yeah, because I think I heard Google was, since they were so late to the cloud game, when they did it, it was called Honey Badger or something like that. They said there's from a zero trust perspective. I believe them because they got infinite money. So they said when they were setting them up, they were doing zero
that plays
trust.
A big difference.
Yeah, they got, and two
when you
is
got billions of dollars to drop into something, then you can legitimately probably have it.
And what they were trying to do, they were trying to cut the line for federal money because they're like, we know AWS is good, Azure is good. We knew, but we got zero trust. We want to get some of that $9 billion RFP that they put out, I think 6 or 7 years ago. They want some of that $9 billion RFP money. Shout out to Ben.
Yeah, I find that interesting. Well, and then like your primary forte is AWS. So how is zero trust handled on AWS? Do they have like 6 different services that you have to use for it?
No, in that document they walk through it. So if you do their security groups, this is how you use it and do micro segmentation with it, right? Which is one of the things. VPC Lattice is how they control communications between APIs, and that's the new. Everybody's doing API calls. So how do you do zero trust with APIs? Use AWS Lattice. They're trying to get away from VPCs. It's called AVA. All right. So when you come from the web, right, they give you tokens. You use AIM. It kind of gives you segmentation like you're in VPN. So they give you these tools, and they tell you, once again, your responsibility to configure them to what you think is best for AWS and your environment and for your data classification. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, and I'll zoom into this a little bit, but I'm not very familiar with AWS all. The only thing I've really played with is some of the EC2s and Lightsail. They also have AWS Poly, which is for like text to speech.
Yeah, they got comprehend. Yeah, they got a lot of cool stuff out there. But yeah, this is one of the things specifically for zero trust. I've never seen anybody use this in a while, to be honest. I've seen it in a bunch of talks, but I just haven't seen anybody use it.
I'm going to look at the pricing here in a moment. But yeah, so network connectivity and application layer routing between services across different VPCs and AWS accounts. It enables connectivity to TCP resources such as databases, domain names, and IP addresses across VPCs. And so is a good way to think about this as like maybe a tunnel between these services and accounts?
No, for them, a lot of times is when you do API calls inside your network, you just assume everybody's good because they're inside your network. So now they're trying again, they want to verify all your session connections in there to make sure nobody's hijacked you. And they want you to control your routing in there too. So, and that was kind of interesting because I'm kind of like, if my service is calling my service, why I got to validate it, right? Or so.
Well, here's the first problem. They're charging by the hour and per gig.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Usually API calls are super, they're doing about an hour though. API calls are usually small and in size though, on what you return.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see because
the first petabyte. Oh my God.
See, yeah. So you had a cent, then they go, you had damn near, that ain't even, you had a half a cent.
Yeah.
So
if you're going over anything above 5 petabytes.
My thing, if I'm doing 5 petabytes, I gotta be making some money.
I might be wrong, but I believe 1 petabyte's 1,000 terabytes.
It is something crazy like that. So if you're doing that much, you should be making money, right? So
hopefully. Yeah, so that kind of shows like what clientele they're trying to focus towards on Lattice. So
they give some hours on it.
Yeah. So like this one's in North Virginia. So you have to run like the service itself for 730 hours a month, 100 services. You'd be looking at about $1,825.
That's not bad if you're a big company, man. We used to joke. We talked about that talking. We spent that talking about the meeting before we went in the meeting at the state. So
yeah.
So that's good. That's why
I love how AWS breaks down their pricing with examples.
Yeah. That's why I told you scroll. Yeah, I do that too. So you don't get super surprised. That's like, okay. It's like, but
PVO, how much did you spend?
Yeah, so going through there, and a lot of times too is they're gonna make it a federal requirement in a little bit to do
for Lattice,
probably,
or Zero Trust,
both. Because if you go to AWS config, I bet, and look for Lattice, it might be in there.
Huh. Yeah, I'll have to look into it and so forth. 8-Bit says that that is easier to understand than Azure. I've looked at Azure before. Like I was looking at the what is that? SC900 and SC200, which the 200 is for the identity protection. But like Azure's interface is horrible to me. I hate their interface so bad.
Which is weird. You would think they would have got that solved by now.
That's my main issue with Azure is like just their interface just seems so horrible. AWS, I think their interface, like they have tons of services, which is what I hate the most, is that it's just like,
overwhelming.
What do I pick?
It's overwhelming. I'm finally kind of getting my hands around it. Like you said, it's just crazy.
But I mean, it's the same thing in Azure, but then on top of that, then they also have a horrible interface. I think they should hire like some, like UI designers or somebody who knows what they're doing. Yeah, the SC300 for the identity management.
Yeah, which is weird because they're real big on UI.
I don't know. I've seen some Microsoft apps. I don't know if I'd say that.
Well, Steve Jobs was just killing them in the UI world. They were trying to get better at it.
Yeah. Well, I think they went backwards with Azure, in my opinion.
No, it was. Let's see. But yeah,
Um,
so the zero trust is kind of like I said, I think once again it's kind of almost top of the pyramid. People, we barely doing the basic stuff, man.
yeah. Brexy says at least Azure at least is consistency. AWS was all over the place. I think like AWS has settled down a little bit though now.
I think they're getting better at it. The team is they had so many teams working on so many different stuff for a while. I think now they're getting everybody using the same template and they're trying to get their hands around.
I still think that, like we've talked about it numerous times, that Azure is probably going to take the cloud market, and then AWS is going to probably keep second place.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I believe that. The only, yeah, especially the stuff AWS keeps doing with competing against big companies, which is crazy. So I can.
Well, and I was playing around in Google Cloud's platform there and so forth, and they are pushing the AI stuff hard.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Compared to what's available on Azure and AWS, like they have their what is it, Google Vortex, which like it makes it super easy. You could just upload your documents, connect it to a drive that you already have on Google Drive, and run RAG like within 10 minutes or less.
Well, I think that's their big push. Where I think AWS has always been, if you got a startup, we got the best development environment. We've been out the longest. Azure is like, hey, we Microsoft. You need Office 365. You need Teams. We got all that in the cloud. So I think Google's from their marketing. I think that's their marketing. We're cloud. I mean, we're AI centric, right? So
yeah.
So I think that's kind of trying to be their push because they're trying to get the ultra new startups and everybody's in the AI. So I think that's the market they're trying to grab.
So is this what you're going to talk about next Tuesday? Is a deep dive on AWS Lattice?
I don't know yet. I'm thinking. It's just so top of the line. I don't think anybody's using it. So that's kind of like, do I need it? I don't think anybody uses it.
That's like half the stuff you talk about, though, PV.
No, that is true. That is true. But the stuff I talk about, I know at least big companies using it. I don't know anybody using Lattice. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into it more and better understand it and so forth. But yeah, it just looks like it's like an API platform.
Yeah, once again, I think it's more doing the micro segmentation for APIs, and everybody's doing API calls. So if you're calling APIs or developing APIs, that's how you would do micro segmentation inside your network, calling APIs and the services that use APIs behind the scenes, because you don't validate them anymore. Oh, we're good. We're like, you know, it's like, oh, we're behind the firewall, and we're good. No, you're not. So I think that's kind of the same thing with APIs. Oh, you are not tenant. We're good. No, you're not. So no, you're not. So
let's see. I was just double checking Discord here. Let's see. All right. What else is going on? I mean, that's pretty much like what I wanted to mention as far as like the zero trust aspect, because it just seems like it would be such a big lift. But kind of like 8-Bit saying is it's more so best practices and just working towards that little by little, especially for these enterprises. But also it seems way more possible for smaller business to do zero trust in the cloud. So
Oh yeah. It is. Especially I think a lot of services you're using, you could start configuring them as in zero trust. And once again, this is a kind of base one I got from Microsoft. So if you look at the identities coming in zero trust, the famous MFA, the big guys like Cisco and Defender, they can actually check your IPs where you're coming from to see if you're in a bad guy, if you're in a place you not want to be. Then your device risk, is it patched? Is it in compliance? Because if you're trying to your laptop and you don't have, if your Defender's cut off and you're not using the proper OS, we're not letting you in. Your risk is too good, right? On the left side. And two is, what's your device identity? A lot of times people take your session, and since your device is not identified, meaning it's not a token or some on there that we can validate it, right? Then, so those are kind of the things before you get in, and we can see how risky you are before we let you in. Then the security policies in the middle, that's kind of the stuff we were talking about, right? Is your session validated? You coming in, is your session authenticated? Meaning we're signing out your packet so we know you're good. The big one in there too is just-in-time security. Meaning I'm working normally as me doing my emails now. I need to upgrade to a DBA. How do I assume my DBA role just in time to use it? Then once I'm done with it, I take those credentials away. So if somebody hacked my regular account, even though I'm a DBA, they won't be able to get those credentials or privilege escalation unless they can assume that role. Go ahead.
And so if we look on that right-hand side, like you were talking about, is the device risk and compliance state and the device identity itself.
Yep.
What are some of the different checks that you would run on that? Like, are you looking at like the location, you know, maybe hashes of files? Like,
yes. The things you look at, if you look at Cisco Duo, and I guess I could pull up another slide, they put tokens inside your machine when they're corporate machines. So even though if you stole my credentials, if you're not from a corporate computer, I know that's not a corporate computer because there's not tokens in there. So I wouldn't let you sign on as me without a corporate machine.
I see.
Right. So then 2 is they have a thing called Sign 4, and I can pull up this slide. You put this SDK in your client, it signs every packet with that. So if for some reason, once again, you stole my session, those packets wouldn't be signed, so you know it's not legitimately me.
And so this is just looking like just defense in depth at this point to me.
That's really, if you look at Zero Trust, really that's what it is, right? Those are just different components.
The checks and balances.
Yeah, right. So that's really, if you look at Zero Trust, it just assumes you've been breached and trust no one, really. That's really, like you said, in-depth security, right? Because you got to validate, assess, check your session every time, make sure it's you. And I'm splitting your identity out from your machine's identity, from your session identity. All right. So now I'm trying to check all those 3 to make sure it's you.
Yeah, I find that interesting, especially on my recent like deep dive into the post-quantum portion, because like I hate cryptography, but I find it important. And so it makes me think like your MFA codes, for an example, for 2auth. So like one of the different downsides of that is like if your device is compromised, then they could theoretically get access to your password manager and so forth. That's like one of the different concerns with a password manager is you're throwing all your trust into that one, you know, browser plugin or otherwise.
And that's kind of Zero Trust. We segment that. So if somebody, even if somebody broke your encryption, which would be bad, if they weren't coming from your corporate machine, we wouldn't let you on, even though they could, you know, do that. Or like Brexy said, if your OS level's not at the right level, if your patch level's not there, if somebody's jailbreak, if you're not in a password level, right? So we try to authenticate all those different attack vectors before we even let you in. And if it's some of those off, we're like, oh, you're too risky. So we'll let you go to HR and read some manuals, but we're not going to let you in the back end, right? Until you get those things, get your patch levels up, get your OS levels up.
Yeah, and with each one of those checks, then you're increasing the likelihood of a legitimate connection.
Yeah.
So
your risk level's going up. It's like, no, it's not you. You're blocked, right? So, but those are checked before we would let you log on, right? So,
but also, like you said, like this is really only like enterprise at this point.
Facts. Even though we kind of getting there, a lot of people doing biometrics would be a kind of a way. Like unless somebody cut off your fingers, like it's a James Bond movie, right? They always take the guy's eye out, then open up the door because we took his eye out, right? So, but no. So those are once again, those are the different levels of verification we're doing from Zero Trust to let you in. And hopefully, you know, if somebody got in your network with all that in there and all that trouble, they would just go to somebody weaker, right? So,
yeah, the pyramid of pain.
Yep.
So. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting. Like I looked at like the what is it? Mobile device management MDM with Google Workspace.
Yep.
And like you can go through and you could do all of those different checks. When somebody tries to connect to a company account, you check the device, the model, you know, the version numbers, what apps are installed. Like you could even set it up to where like, oh, if they have TikTok installed, it will not allow them to sign in.
I'm I'm really on the whole other side. I don't like MDMs because that means nine times out of 10 we're letting you use your personal equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, man, you need to be using
Well,
corporate equipment given to you by us, and we manage all of that. Because now you got
so
kids on your phone and on your laptop. Go ahead.
true. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't like the idea of bring your own device kind of thing.
Right.
One of the interesting things, I don't know about iPhone, but at least for Android now, they do have it set up to where you can you have two separate profiles basically, so it is segmented.
I still don't like it because I feel
Well,
like
yeah,
sooner or later
device access.
you're gonna figure out how you're gonna get to the other side. You're gonna
Yeah,
jailbreak it. It's technically not jailbreaking, but it's in a container, so you're gonna figure out how to get from your personal container to the corporate container. So
and your kids are still playing,
facts.
games on it or whatever. Welcome to the party, pal, Rosnir.
Shout out Rafnir. So yeah, but once again, I think zero trust, like you said, it's a framework, it's a mission. So that's kind of always like the third level. Once you get your 800-53 in there and up there, you get most of our implemented without finding. I think the next would be, but a lot of zero trust is in there. Network segmentation is a check in there. I'm just trying to go in my mind. Inventory checks in there. A lot of those are really in 53.
Well, and then also like that 1835 that they published, which is what sparked this entire discussion from NIST.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're going in the cloud, then, especially if you're going to deploy anything new, then that looks like a really good resource to go to for guidance on like, this is best practice for this.
It is, but so many people just stumbling in the cloud, trying to do a lift and shift, right? Because when you're doing 1835, right, you're re-architecting what you did on prem, and a lot of people don't have the stomach for that.
Yeah,
what they run, because once again, that's what the corporation is comfortable with. That's what those guys are trained to do. That's what their knowledge are at. You talking about using Lattice, and ain't nobody ever heard of it. Using Ava, get rid of VPN, right? So, I mean, I think all of that is kind of. But once again, like we talked about, base, advanced and optimal, right? So just kind of build up to it, but it takes a while to get to that. So.
I mean, and that's really for everything though too. So
yeah, it is.
I mean, that makes sense. What else? Does anybody else have any other topics, or what are you guys finishing off this week? I think Brexy probably had some flashbacks of, when he was doing this stuff. And then 8-Bit's probably like, how can I set that up locally? There's got to be a local, Lattice alternative, or he's going to make one.
I think there's things out there you could do for that. Once again, I think they just try to make it a little easier.
Yeah.
For you to do the.
But yeah, that pretty much concludes it for me. As far as the zero trust portion goes, one of the other cool things I was going to mention here, I don't have a really good demo to showcase. I wish I did. Another one of these side projects that I play around with.
Okay.
Let me see if I can pull this up. So basically, in short, I had made a joke yesterday about how, if you guys were watching the community chat yesterday, I had made a joke around the lines of like, even with B-dubs, she requires a TOTP code just to verify my identity to talk business or otherwise.
That's funny.
So then I went through and I did some research into it, and it's actually way easier to generate those codes, like customized, TOTP codes, than I thought it would be in Python. Oh. And so I just vibe coded an entire application that's just an HTML file that you could run locally with JavaScript and so forth to actually generate these codes. And so in theory, the way it would work is you generate a code from your HTML file that you could just open on your browser locally. And then you could give that to your friend, and then you could verify that pin, that code, to verify their identity. So they have stuff like that already implemented for like Signal, for an example. You can go into the user profile or the chat itself, and I just think it's kind of cool. Yeah, so Rothnir, I think you're referring to the accountabilities channel. That is something that we're going to go ahead and give a try. So we'll see how it works out and so forth. I mean, it's worth giving it a go. But yeah, we did like 3 separate polls, and every single one of them had at least to do an accountabilities channel majority. Now there was a little bit in between whether it should be in an existing or a new channel. So we're just going to generate a new channel for it and see how it works out. Worst case scenario, we could dissolve that and throw it in another one, or figure it out as we go. Let me see if I can pull up an example here. So this is something where like I wish I need to go through and actually learn GitHub better.
Me too. It's on my list.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up. So this is literally just something that I just vibe coded here, and
I hate that term. I hate that.
It was supposed to be a bad term, but now companies are actually hiring vibe coders.
I know. I saw that. I was like,
it's supposed to be a bad negative thing.
So we just relaxing. We just relaxing while we code. Man, what we doing?
Exactly, Brexy. Yeah. So TOTP is just based on a secret token.
Facts.
And that's what this is based off of. And so this would just be an HTML document here, and you could just go through and hit generate secret, and you get your code right here. And you could even have the QR code. So if you want to, just use it on your phone for your your authentication app, you could. And so in theory, what I was thinking is just like generate a unique one for each, person, and then be able to validate their identity that way through my own application here. Now, of course, that develops tons of friction, and my family would probably have me, put in for a psych eval at that point. But I think it's a cool idea. That's the main reason why I wanted to just showcase this. So. But I thought it was cool. Gotta make Chris validate his identity to make sure it's not AI. That is actually valid. I did use 11 Labs to duplicate my voice. It didn't work out as ideal as I wanted to as well.
It'll get better.
Oh, I'm sure it will. That's going to be a matter of time before we got PBO doing deepfake.
I thought about doing one inside AWS.
You should. Why not?
It's got other stuff to worry about. Deep faking.
Oh, come on. You just have these AWS certs, the CISSP, and, like
Facts.
60 video backlog.
Facts. That is facts.
Let's see. There's likely enough content to make a deepfake of Chris. A valid concern. Yes, actually, it is a valid concern. So when I went through with 11 Labs, literally all I did was just scrape like content that I already created on YouTube and gave them the audio to generate that. And it was like they require, I think it's 15 seconds for just like standard. But if you want a really custom tuned one, then they recommend like 2 to 6 hours. So,
wow.
Yeah. And I gave about 4 hours worth of audio, and I would say that it was like 90% of the way there. People who know me would be able to tell that it wasn't legitimate. So. Yeah, and also B-Dub says my family would likely disown me. I already give people enough trouble on like password managers and not reusing passwords and so forth. If I told them they have to verify a code just to talk to me, that would save me a lot of time.
That is funny. That is funny.
I played around with 11 Labs a little bit and so forth. I was looking at it for like content optimization, but the problem is that like it's just not there yet, and then also it's extremely expensive, and it's not as personal either. Like I was like months ago, I was going to go through and do like an entire recorded intro, but it's just a lot better to just do that each and every time. So it's different with the content creation that I do. But yeah. Yeah, and then we're at the top of the hour now. Did you have any final last words or remarks? I guess you're going to do a deep dive on Lattice next week.
I don't know if it's going to be doing Lattice, man. I don't think anybody's using it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I was going to do something really specifically for NIST probably next week. I haven't done anything specifically for NIST. Ken, I think the one we did is you like to talk about what part of AWS you need to configure from responsibility metrics of what you can control to make sure that's configured to do federal work. I think a lot of people still have questions on that. I'm in AWS and Azure, I'm good. That's incorrect.
Yeah.
So I might do something like that. What's your next video coming up for the channel?
So next week we have our job readiness group resume review. Our talks for next month got scheduled out. So the first Thursday of next month, that's going to be Brews and Hacks talking about math, so utilizing like the concept of math not being math in cybersecurity. So it's about reasoning and so forth.
I hated this title. I'm glad you explained it. I did not like that title.
I hate math in the first place, and I think that's why you picked that topic. But yeah, it's going to be about how you can use the concept of math for reasoning and
shout out to B-Dubs. She's our resident.
B-Dubs is all excited.
A math genius. Shout out to Rafnir. Yeah, a lot of times with the adaptive security, if you're in Defender or Cognito inside AWS, it can figure out when you log in, where you log in, and if your username is on the dark web, they go out there and look. They can give your username a risk level, and that's what makes it adaptive. And two, if you're logging in from Iran and your username is on the dark web, your risk is going to be very high. So now, shout out to the adaptive. Once again, Cognito is their password manager-ish on AWS, and they do give you adaptive security in there. You can pull up risk when people log in and how they log in and what they're touching. Then that slideshow we were looking at, we can decide if we're going to let you log in, or if we let you log in, what can you go see on the back end with that level of risk?
Yeah, and then also B-Dub says, I love numbers, words are hard. Number are hard too.
Number.
So is spelling and words. B-Dubs needs a t-shirt that says words are hard.
Yeah, I like that. That'd be a cool t-shirt.
Yeah, see, exactly, but math has too many numbers.
But yeah,
so I think that pretty much concludes it at this point. If you guys have any other questions or otherwise, definitely drop it in the Discord server. That's the best place outside of our streams. So we have the Brews and Hacks for the math reasoning type of talk. And then the second Thursday next month is actually going to be cybersecurity research. And he's going to talk about, go make a friend. That was like his entire thing around an entire community that he built up and at conferences and so forth. So he's going to share like his experience because the majority of his technical career, he was more isolated. And then more recently, over the last few years, he started going to conferences and meeting people, talking with people and so forth. And the importance around that. So those are the talks that we have coming up. Otherwise, there are some other content that I am working on, but it's just kind of, I'm going to drip it out over time. But yeah, thank you guys for popping in and so forth. Space Tacos, words are hard or words aren't wording. Yeah, exactly.
Facts.
But yeah, you guys have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy the weekend. GRC Mafia.